everyone, my name is Maddie, and this is my Marvel comic breakdown. Welcome back to my series where I break down 20 different comics each episode. It's episode 14 now, and trust me, I've got something really special lined up for today. Whether you're a hardcore fan or you're just dipping your toes into the comic universe, you're in for a real treat. So grab your favorite snack, get comfy, and let's dive into today's selection. And hey, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can join us on this fantastic adventure. Let's get started. The next 4 comics are from the Human Torch, number 5A from the Summer Edition. They were all released in June 1941. The next comic is titled The March of Death. It was written by Carl Burgos and illustrated by Carl Burgos and Harry Saleh. The game's afoot, with Torch and Toro summoned to the police HQ to check out this menacing note from Doc Smart. He's threatening to steal $1 million, and he's got a plan. Back at his swanky penthouse, he's mapping out his heist with his gang, using a mysterious obituary from the newspaper. Fast forward to the next day, these flaming heroes are keeping an eye on the bank's big transfer when they're interrupted by a funeral procession. Dr. Smart and his goons pop out of the hearse, gunfire blazing, asbestos suits on, ready to face the fiery duo. Smart's got some crazy gadgets too. Spring bombs exploding, asbestos traps, and more. The heroes end up captured but soon awaken in the hearse. Torch sends out a flaming SOS and the police get on Smart's tail. The chase is crazy. Smoke bombs, fireballs, sewers exploding, and a bridge collapsing, sending the hearse splashing into the water. Torch and Toro think they've won, but Smart's still alive. The underwater drama continues with Smart's thugs, thermite bullets, and even a floating mine that blasts them into the sky. Smart escapes in his escape boat, but not without a police chase. There's fire, freezing vapor, and more as Smart tries to shake off the Torch and Toro. Smart's got a new hearse, but this one's heat-proof. But Toro hypnotizes the driver with his fireball juggling. Smart's not done though, and releases a gas that sends the heroes into a crazy trance. A crash into the river snaps them out of it, and they're back on Smart's trail. They finally catch up to Smart, but he's ready with thick black smoke. The boys are knocked out, tied up, and thrown into a pit in the cemetery, but Torch sends a code to the gatekeeper for help. The climax is intense, with the Torch and Toro firing their way underground and capturing Smart just as the police arrive. This continuation of the adventure adds layers of complexity and suspense to the narrative. Dr. Smart's character becomes even more intriguing with his unexpected tactics and unrelenting drive. The creative use of elements like liquid air bombs, hypnotizing fireball juggling, and the code message to the cemetery gatekeeper adds depth and showcases the hero's ingenuity. The story is more than just a high-stakes chase. It reflects themes of persistence, creativity, and the struggle between good and evil. The characters aren't just one-dimensional either. They adapt and react, keeping us on the edge of our seats. The interplay of the Torch and Toro's flaming abilities with Smart's clever tricks leads to a dynamic and thrilling climax. The next story is titled The Human Torch and Submariner Battle the Nazi Super Shell of Death. It was written by Stan Lee. It's a typed story. This story takes us above the skies of Britain during the dark days of World War II. It's none other than the Human Torch, Toro, and Prince Namor the Submariner teaming up to give those nasty Nazis a run for their money. The trio spots a colossal Nazi gun that's pointing straight at London, and the way that it's described, this thing must be a behemoth. The heroes obviously spring into action. Namor's busy taking on the Nazi forces, while Torch and Toro go after the big gun. In a pulse-pounding moment, the gun fires a shell toward London, and the Torch swoops in and blows it up, just in time too. Meanwhile, Toro's melting down the gun, and Namor is kicking Nazi ass all the way back to France. Now what really adds flavor to this tale is the dynamic between these characters. The Torch and Namor are like a pair of friends who just can't stop teasing each other. They're throwing shade left and right, always trying to one-up each other, while Toro's the chill one, just getting the job done. But hey, despite the friendly rivalry, these three come together and get the job done in style. It's not just about the action, it's about the teamwork, even if that teamwork comes with a side of playful banter. This story captures a blend of heroic action and light-hearted camaraderie that was prevalent in the Golden Age of comics. The clash between Nazi forces and superpowered heroes is a classic setup, providing a clear line between good and evil. The playful banter between the characters adds a layer of human connection, allowing us to relate to these larger-than-life figures. At its core, this story encapsulates the spirit of unity, bravery, and resilience, themes that resonated deeply during wartime. The characters' willingness to put aside their differences and work together mirrors the societal call to unite against a common enemy. The next comic is titled Blitzkrieg of the Living Dead. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Bill Everett. So Namor and the Angel are chilling when a courier comes sprinting over, but he collapses and literally dies at their feet. Namor picks up this mysterious message, and suddenly a voice from nowhere tells them whoever reads this message dies. This message is from Carlos, one of Namor's servants, and he's telling them that zombies are taking over the island. Namor's like, not on my watch, dude, and leaves to check it out. He finds these creepy zombies rounding up his people and making them slaves. The zombies start enacting US domination. Namor starts swimming from island to island, cleaning house, and discovers this massive zombie base packed with weapons. He even lets himself get captured to free the other captives and leads them into a fight. Namor's out there taking down a fleet of submarines when like actual shark-human hybrids start attacking him with bullets. They drop bombs on him, and Namor's literally dodging death. He tries to contact the Angel, but no luck. He does find the zombies' underwater base though, and wades into battle. But the zombies manage to destroy the base of the island. And then Namor finds the Angel held prisoner by the zombies. So Namor flies in, frees the Angel, and they just annihilate the foes. And they find the head honcho of the Nazis disguised as a zombie. This story is jam-packed with action, suspense, and some seriously spooky twists. It's giving us underwater battles, a clever protagonist, and a shocking reveal at the end. Zombies and Nazis make an interesting combo, and I'm kinda here for the sheer creativity. What stands out to me is the visual potential of this plot. The human-shark hybrids, intense battles, and the dramatic island setting. It's a classic tale of heroism and bravery, with Submariner going all out to save the island. The next comic is titled Death Dirge of the Veiled Violinist. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Sid Green. A reformed street musician is rocking out on his violin on a quiet corner one night. He's playing for coins and sharing the joy of music, even stopping to play tunes for some dancing children. This soldier, fresh from the armory, drops some coins into the musician's cup. Then he clutches his head, screams, and collapses. The kids look in terror as the soldier's face twists into something nightmarish, and then his bones and teeth literally melt away. All while the violinist keeps playing this crazy high eerie note. Enter Jeff Mace and friends just out from dinner who bump into the traumatized children. They hear the story, and Jeff, ever the suspicious one, starts tailing the violinist. A quick showdown, a smashed violin, and a narrow escape later, they discover that the soldier's bones were ground to sawdust. Fast forward, Jeff's playing Sherlock, breaking glasses with violin notes, and calling the cops as the Patriot to report this bone-shattering mystery. But the police aren't buying it, so the Patriot's gotta handle this himself. Cut to 2 days later, this massive parade, and that creepy violinist strikes again, with a note of death that leaves soldiers and civilians writhing in agony. Patriots on the case, tracking down the violinist's hideout, and even tuning into Berlin to mess with the Nazis. But just when you think the Patriots got this, the violinist comes back, knocks him out with his killer music, and a fight ensues. The villain confesses his reasons, but when Patriot tries to turn the tables, the guy crashes through a window and dies. This story is mixing mystery, horror, and heroics in a way that is engaging. The concept of a violin with deadly power is both terrifying and intriguing, and it's played to perfection here. I love how this isn't just about physical battles, but also a mental game. The blend of the ordinary, street music, parades, with the extraordinary, bone-shattering notes, secret Nazi communication, is handled with a flair that keeps you wanting to read more. Plus, there's a moral dilemma that the Patriot faces in trying to use the deadly music against the enemy, adding depth to his character. The next 7 comics are from the Captain America comics number 4. They were all released in April 1941. The next comic is titled The Unholy Legion. It was written by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, and illustrated by Joe Simon, Jack Kirby, Al Avison, and Al Gabriel. Leading weapons manufacturers are being offed left and right by these seemingly homeless guys. But it's not just some random violence. It's all the work of this super shady group known as the Unholy Legion. Now, Steve and Bucky are headed back to Camp Lehigh when they notice something hella suspicious. A supposedly legless homeless man springing to his feet and running off to the sound of chiming bells. So they follow this crowd of homeless people all rushing to a church, and Steve's like, James, you've got to go undercover as a homeless boy and check this out. I've got to head back to camp. And Bucky finds out that these homeless people are actually Nazi agents in disguise, using stolen money to fund their dastardly deeds. But when he can't show them the Nazi brand they all have, they realize he's a spy and capture him. They're about to brand Bucky with a red-hot swastika, but then Captain America comes smashing through a window to the rescue. rescue. Bucky somehow gets a Gatling gun and they fight off the gang, though the leader escapes. Chasing him to a U-boat offshore, Cap and Bucky beat the crew, plant a bomb, and jump ship before it blows up. But the leader escapes via torpedo. They follow him back to the church, beat the Nazi spies into submission, and turn them over to the authorities. This Captain America and Bucky tale is a gripping ride filled with suspense, clever twists, and classic heroics. The use of disguised Nazi agents reveals a hidden threat and taps into the fear of concealed enemies. The physical and intellectual prowess of the heroes shines through, while the swastika branding adds a chilling touch. It's a fast-paced story that reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and courage and justice will always win. The next comic is titled Ivan the Terrible. It was written and illustrated by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. We start with King Ivan being a nasty ruler. He's sifting through his prisoners and basically sentencing them to death. Betsy Ross comes in next and claims that her father is the rightful king, and Ivan rules that she will rot in the dungeons forever. Captain America and Bucky have also been captured and brought to Ivan's cold lair. Cap fights Ivan, and then the two end up in the dungeon alongside Betty Ross. They manage to escape from the dungeon and rescue Betty. They fight their way out of the castle and take Betty to safety with her kingly dad in the mountains. Cap and Bucky then return to the castle and battle their way back in, where Cap takes down Ivan, restoring the kingdom to Betty's father. The heroes are hailed, but it's just a dream. Bucky wakes up to tell Steve all about it. The story leverages the power of dreams to blend historical figures with fictional heroes in a fantastical landscape. The dream setting allows for grand exaggerations and escapades that wouldn't typically fit with the Captain America universe. It's a delightful detour into Bucky's subconscious, reflecting his admiration for Captain America and a desire for justice. A classic good versus evil tale, but wrapped in a dreamy package. The next comic is titled The Case of the Fake Money Fiends. It was written and illustrated by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Captain America and Bucky hear of strange happenings and counterfeit money floating around the town of Hillsdale. Being the heroes they are, they decide to investigate, and what better place to start than a so-called haunted house. But those ghosts in the house turn out to be no ghosts at all, but live crooks hiding behind the spooky facade. The heroes follow the trail down to the basement, where they kick some ghost ass. Then they uncover a counterfeit operation and rescue captive Betty Ross. They also kick some counterfeiter ass, and Betty informs Cap and Bucky that the criminal mastermind, a sneaky ex-government employee, is still at large. Cue Steve going undercover as a gullible farmer and discovering the gang's hidden lair. Fast forward to that night, Cap and Bucky bust into the hideout and with swift action take down the crooks. You'd think that they'd be heroes of the day, but they end up with some extra kitchen duties for abandoning their posts. This tale artfully combines a mix of supernatural intrigue with a real-world criminal plot. The ghostly mystery captures our attention, while the action-packed investigation showcases the determination of the duo in fighting crime. It also adds a bit of humor by highlighting the contrast between their heroic deeds and the mundane punishment they receive back at camp. It's a fun read, emphasizing the dedication of the heroes, and a reminder that even superheroes have responsibilities to juggle. The next comic is titled Horror Hospital. It was written and illustrated by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. So Steve and Bucky, on leave from Camp Lehigh, are off to see a movie when they stumble upon a theater being robbed. Quick change into their hero outfits, and they're on it. But Bucky gets injured, and they end up at the eerie office of Dr. Grimm, surrounded by deformed patients and creepy aides. Steve leaves Bucky there to recover. Later, Bucky talks to his nurse, who is frightened, but won't tell him why. He wakes up later to cries for help, and when he tries to go help, he runs into Eigen. Dr. Grimm tells him that everyone is okay and to go back to bed. Concerned, James pens a letter to Steve, asking for a Captain America investigation. But the sinister Dr. Grimm sees this letter and decides to send Steve a letter of his own. Cap enters the hospital and battles Eigen, who then starts flooding the room. He almost drowns, but breaks out of the room just in time. After finding Dr. Grimm and confronting him, Cap gets captured. Cut to Betty Ross arriving at the hospital posing as a nurse, only to find Captain America and Bucky trapped. The trio then meet Goro, a massive, horrifying creature, part of Grimm's twisted experiments. The showdown begins. Cap battles the monster, Bucky grabs a gun, shoots Goro dead, and Dr. Grimm meets his demise in a fall from a balcony. Back at camp, Steve and Bucky aren't quite heroes in Sergeant Duffy's eyes, who puts them on kitchen duty again. This story has a delightful blend of action, mystery, and a touch of horror. It paints an intriguing picture of a hero's journey, intertwined with some dark elements. Dr. Grimm's experiments and Goro provide a dash of the macabre, while the repeated theme of Cap and Bucky facing KP duty grounds the tale in a relatable reality. It's a unique adventure that offers excitement and suspense while reminding us that heroes aren't exempt from everyday consequences. The next story is titled Captain America and the Bomb Site Thieves. It was written by Stan Lee. It's a typed story. Two shady characters, Monk and One-Eye, are tailing Bucky. Bucky, who's the head honcho of a group known as the Sentinels of Liberty, is totally stoked about a visit from none other than Captain America. But there's a twist. Monk and One-Eye are plotting to steal a bomb site invention from Professor Colby's room. The Centennials meeting is underway. Everyone's having a good time, and then Monk and One-Eye burst into the room with guns blazing. But fear not, because Cap is in the house. Steve doesn't miss a beat and quickly changes into Captain America, jumping into action. With the Centennials by his side, they take down the crooks and save the day. After Captain America flips back to Steve and lays down some wisdom about duty and responsibility. This storyline is a straight-up showcase of heroism and courage, with Captain America leading by example. The Sentinels of Liberty are more than just sidekicks. They're symbols of youthful determination. The plot touches on themes of duty, loyalty, and patriotism. It's like a love letter to the ideals that make Cap who he is, and it's a reminder that we don't need superpowers to make a difference. All we need is a little courage. The next comic is titled The Ogre of the Cave Dwellers. It was written by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby and illustrated by Jim Mooney and Chu Hing. Tuck and Tanier, on their quest to discover Atalan, run into a chaotic scene of people literally running for their lives. They are fleeing a total brute named Bonzo and his gang of primitive baddies. So Tuck and Tanier decide they need to check out what's happening. They stumble upon a brave caveman who's ready to throw down for his family. Tragically though, he's beaten to death by Bonzo's crew. That's when Tanier steps up, firing an arrow and showing Bonzo and his minions that they don't want the smoke. Bonzo's gang runs off, but Tanier knows that they will be back. Fast forward a bit, and Tanier is pretending to join Bonzo's squad. He even fakes killing Tuck to prove his loyalty. They're scheming, plotting, and things are heating up when one of Bonzo's guys catches wind of their plan. They deal with him no problem, and the story leaves us on the edge of our seats, waiting for Tanier's next move to end Bonzo's reign. This is a thrilling tale filled with bravery, betrayal, and intrigue. It paints a vivid picture of survival and resistance against a powerful enemy. The loyalty between Tuck and Tanier is straight up goals, as they navigate a world filled with terror and uncertainty. There's a cinematic feel to this story, with twists that keep you hooked. The underlying theme here is about standing up against depression and not backing down, no matter the odds. It's a message that still resonates today. The next comic is titled The Pirate and the Missing Ships. It was written by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby and illustrated by Charles Nicholas and Reed Crandall. We're traveling back to the 16th century with the pirate John Carruthers, who's exiled to the tropical islands for his misdeeds. But he's not done yet. He's got revenge on his mind and a legacy of piracy to leave behind. Carruthers finds himself welcomed by the island's native population, and he trains them in the ways of pirating. As he grows older, he makes sure his followers carry on his pirate ways. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the descendants of the island's pirate fleet is causing havoc by capturing American vessels. Enter Harry Kane, who takes on the mission to investigate the disappearances as the superhero Hurricane. He learns where the ships have gone missing and heads to the islands past Hawaii. Hurricane stumbles across the pirates attacking a cruise ship and leaps into action, rescuing the crew and sinking the pirate ship with his incredible powers. But he doesn't stop there. He goes to the pirates' island, overpowers them, and then delivers the ultimate judgment, a massive storm that washes the pirates off their island to drown at sea. This story is a blend of historical fiction and classical superhero action, with a touch of moral complexity. The transition from Carruthers' time to the 20th century creates a fascinating link between past and present, showing how the legacy of violence can linger. Hurricane's actions raise some ethical questions, such as whether his extreme judgment was justified. Was it heroism or brutality? This tale invites us to reflect on justice, revenge, and the blurred lines between right and wrong. The next 7 comics are from the Marvel Mystery Comics number 20. They were all released in April 1941. The next comic is titled The Hunt for Hawk Rivers. It was written and illustrated by Carl Burgos. So this story takes us into a blazing crisis in New York. The Torch and Toro are helping firefighters by clearing rubble. They discover a woman and child under some of this rubble, and Toro tries to get them to an ambulance. Torch stops a collision from happening, fixes the ambulance, and then heads off to see the mayor. An escaped con, Hawk Rivers, is threatening to burn down the city, and it gets personal when they place a bomb in the hospital where Toro is. So the Torch is really fired up about the whole situation. The crooks are demanding $10 million or they will continue the burning. At the hospital, Toro is entertaining some kids when one of them finds the bomb. The Torch arrives and Toro gives the bomb to him, which sets off the torch. He even burns a symbol of a rat into the foreheads of a couple of the captured pilots. Meanwhile, Toro's got his detective mode on and suspects that this might be an inside job. He follows a suspicious man into a warehouse, but ends up getting captured. The next day, the mayor shows up and gives the criminals the money. The Torch tries to stop them, but they threaten to destroy the city and Toro. There's a short fight sequence of the Torch basically melting building rubble. The goons are not messing around with Toro. They bind him with asbestos strips, set his feet in plaster of Paris, and dump him out of an airplane. But Toro's cry for help reaches the Torch, who swoops in with a playful, "Okay, I will," and rescues him. Torch goes after the gang, burning off the landing gear of their plane and skywriting a demand for them to land. Now, the pilot's in a tricky spot, wondering how to land without the gear, but afraid of what Torch will do if he disobeys. The Torch creates fire wheels for the plane to land on, and he takes Hawk Rivers into custody. This story is pure adrenaline and serves up the heroic flair we love about classic superhero comics. It's an intense read that taps into themes of bravery, loyalty, and justice. Torch's unconventional methods and playful attitude add a layer of complexity to his character, while the bond between Toro and Torch really shines through. And the use of fire, both as a weapon and as a symbol, gives the story a unique edge. The next comic is titled To Crush Killer Casey. It was written and illustrated by Bill Everett. So Namor is back in the Big Apple after curing an illness affecting his people, and he's returning some procured radium. All seems chill until his friend Betty Dean reaches out for his help. She introduces Namor to Danny Dougherty, a young boxer who was crippled in a match against the notorious Killer Casey. Danny's defeat smells fishy, and the Submariner asks to meet Killer Casey. Namor confronts him, leaves him knocked out, and then signs up to fight him in the ring. There's this whole training sequence that shows Namor prepping for the fight. 2 months later, he heads to Madison Square Garden, announcing his intention to battle Killer Casey. He's not playing around, even flooring Casey with a single punch during his challenge. The tension's high, but Killer Casey's managers aren't playing fair. They try a heat ray, greasing Namor's shoes, and even squirting ammonia into Namor's eyes with a water pistol. But Namor's not having any of it. Each attempt fails, and an enraged Namor goes full strength, knocking Killer Casey into dreamland and winning the match. In a heartwarming gesture, Namor gives the prize money to Dougherty's family for his medical expenses. This story is a fun and unexpected twist, taking Namor out of the ocean and putting him into a boxing ring. It's filled with action, suspense, and a dose of humanity, showcasing Namor's willingness to fight for what's right both in and out of the water. The plotline of a hero entering a boxing match has a classic feel, but Namor's unique abilities and the villain's unconventional tactics make it fresh and engaging. It's more than a boxing match. It's a story about justice, friendship, and determination. The next comic is titled The Vampire Killer of Star City. It was written and illustrated by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. So Star City's in a panic, with 10 victims claimed by a strange vampire killer, and naturally, the Vision's all over it. As he's investigating, he stumbles upon the lab of the first victim, a scientist, and he finds notes about Experiment 36B, pointing toward a new breed of plant called Florus homo. It's a humanoid plant that thrives on human blood. No garlic needed. We've got a botanical vampire. The Vision doesn't hesitate. He goes out hunting for this plant man and finds the leafy creature just in time to save its next victim. A battle ensues, and the Vision easily destroys the creature using its own kryptonite, fire. This story brings us into the supernatural domain, blending elements of horror with superhero action. It's a refreshing take on the classic vampire myth, substituting a humanoid plant for a traditional bloodsucker. The intrigue around the scientific experiment, the race against time, and the Vision's decisive victory makes for a thrilling read. What stands out here is the innovative concept of the Florus homo, adding an ecological twist to the vampire genre. It's a unique and gripping tale that goes beyond mere action, introducing a biological terror that's both fantastic and chilling. The next story is titled High Tension: The Origin of the Angel. It was written by Ray Gill. It's a typed story. In a gathering, an old man starts sharing the incredible story of the Angel. Raised by a prison warden and educated by top-notch teachers, the Angel grew up inside prison walls. But he's no villain. He befriended inmates and learned about crimes that somehow slipped through the cracks. One day, young Angel and old man Bob found themselves on a hike, stumbling upon a man who had been shot. But this isn't just any injured man. He's got evidence that could save a life, proof of innocence for a prisoner set to be executed that very night. Now, the Angel, being as resourceful as he is, manages to short-circuit the prison's power supply with some high-tension wires, halting the execution just in time to prove the prisoner's innocence. And that's when the name Angel is born, as the saved prisoner calls the boy his savior. This story sets the stage for a character that becomes a symbol of justice, a timeless avenger who is always there to right wrongs. The Angel's upbringing in a prison environment, learning about unavenged crimes, and his act of saving a life all shape his dedication to justice. What's fascinating is how the Angel's origin intertwines with Bob Solar's narrative, unraveling both a personal connection and a broader theme of enduring righteousness. The Angel's quest becomes ageless, reflecting a universal pursuit for fairness and a commitment to the truth. The next comic is titled The Mystery of the Radio Robberies. It was written by Ray Gill and illustrated by Bob Ostner. So Terry and Dawson are just chilling, listening to the police band radio when they catch wind of a bank robbery. Obviously, they're on the case and hit the scene to meet with Inspector Crane. Crane lays down all the deeds. 10,000 is missing, no signs of a break-in, but a suspicious radio tube left behind. Now, that's a clue worth investigating. Fast forward a bit, Crane returns home only to discover his maid tied up, papers shuffled, and then drops dead after answering a phone call. He does leave a note for Terry, though, and that sends the young hero heroes rushing off, armed with a radio wave tracking device. Terry and Dawson crack the code, tracking down the criminals' radio transmissions to United Trust Bank. They catch the crooks red-handed and subdue them. Turns out the crooks had been using sensitive microphones to record bank vault combinations, and even rigged a miniature gun inside Crane's phone to off him via radio control. This one mixes classic detective intrigue with high-tech criminal tactics. The innovative use of technology such as sensitive microphones and a rigged phone adds a modern twist to the typical bank robbery plot. Inspector Crane's unexpected death brings in emotional urgency to the story, pushing the heroes to seek justice. Overall, this tale praises intelligence and innovation, reinforcing the timeless idea that no matter how advanced the crime, good detective work and justice will triumph. The next comic is titled The Cat's Paw, Chapter 3, Tombs of Torture. It was written and illustrated by Paul Gustafsson. The scene starts off in a frenzy. The Cat's Paw and her minions are fleeing from their latest crime scene, and the Angel is hot on their trail. He makes an epic grab onto their getaway car, but is soon tossed out. Another car full of minions comes for him, but the Angel, ever resourceful, takes control of the car. He tracks the Cat's Paw to her mountain hideout and narrowly escapes death when she causes his car to wreck. Once inside the mansion, he discovers something shocking. A torture chamber where the Cat's Paw is interrogating a businessman about the stock owners of American Aircraft Incorporated. She's targeting companies aiding the British war effort. With a clever maneuver and unbreakable resolve, the Angel subdues the Cat's Paw. Her employer is revealed to be a Nazi agent. Together with the Cat's Paw, who's also surprised, the Angel takes the agent down. The adventure concludes with the Cat's Paw mysterious escape, leaving only her burning costume behind and a window leading to a deadly drop. Did she survive? We just have to wait and see. This chapter is jam-packed with thrills and spills. The storytelling is tight, offering a combination of action, suspense, and plot twists. Themes of justice and wartime espionage are intertwined, adding depth to the characters. The portrayal of the Angel's skills and clever tactics makes him a standout hero, and the enigmatic Cat's Paw leaves us with a cliffhanger, adding to the ongoing allure of this storyline. The next comic is titled Action in Ethiopia. It was written and illustrated by Ben Thompson. This is the last comic of part 1.1 of the Marvel Golden Age reading order. Ka-Zar hears about Nazi soldiers camping out in Ethiopia, and he's not letting it slide. He calls on Traja and a tribe of elephants, and they're on a mission. Sneaking into the base, the jungle hero outsmarts the guard and grabs his keys. Next, he rescues some captured British soldiers using the Nazis' own planes. Ka-Zar gets caught, and things look grim when he's tied to a bomb. But he's Ka-Zar. He calls on his elephant pals, and they come charging in, trampling the bad guys and freeing him just in the nick of time. He rallies his animal friends, including Shaka and his apes and Zar, to take down an Italian supply train carrying weapons to the Axis forces. They make that train plunge off the rails, then they storm the nearby base, overpowering everyone with their wild energy. The base goes up in flames, ammo dump explodes, and the heroes make a triumphant escape. This action-packed adventure is pure adrenaline, featuring Ka-Zar at his best, leading a team of brave animals against formidable foes. The story is more than just a thrilling ride. It showcases Ka-Zar's resourcefulness, loyalty, and determination. One notable aspect is the way animals are depicted as true allies, fighting side by side with Ka-Zar. It adds an emotional connection and ups the stakes in their battle against evil. The narrative also includes historical context, placing Ka-Zar in the thick of World War II, emphasizing the gravity of their mission, and making their victory all the more triumphant. The next two comics are from Young Allies #1. They were both released in July 1941. The next comic is titled The Coming of Agent Zero. It was written by Stan Lee and illustrated by Charles Nicholas. This is the first comic in part 1.2 of the reading order that I'm using, and this part is titled Axis and Allies. Agent Zero's at a New York pier running for his life. He gets cornered, and then the Nazis are suddenly surrounded by guns, only to find out that they've been tricked big time. These aren't real guns. They're made of wood, and the ones holding them are none other than Bucky and his squad of Sentinels of Liberty fan club, including Jeff Knuckles O'Toole, Tubby Tinklebomb, and Whitewash Jones. Things escalate real quick when the Nazis' boat gets blown to smithereens by Toro, and then Toro tries to snatch leadership of the Sentinels of Liberty, showing off those fire powers. But that's put on hold when they hear Agent Zero inside their clubhouse. Bucky introduces Agent Zero to his core team, who now call themselves the Young Allies. They're down for some action, and impressed by their spunk, Agent Zero asks them if they want to join in on his mission. And of course, they're all in. This scenario is more than just action-packed. It's a classic tale of youthful courage, camaraderie, and the fight for justice. The clever use of deception, the introduction of Toro, the formation of the Young Allies all set up an intriguing narrative that promises more adventure to come. The blend of different characters, like the steadfast Bucky and the fiery Toro, adds layers and dynamic. An Agent Zero situation serves as the catalyst for this unlikely team-up. The 280th comic in this series is titled The Red Skull and the Graveyard of Doom. It was written by Stan Lee and illustrated by Jack Kirby, Charles Nicholas, and Sid Shores. The Young Allies are mid-discussion when they spot someone spying on them. They give chase, but lose the spy, only to find out that Agent Zero has left them a note and dipped without them. They're bummed, but Tubby's got some inside info. He overhears that Agent Zero is off to meet Agent X at Long Pine, so the Allies decide to tail her. When they reach Long Pine, things go from 0 to 100 real quick. The Allies witness Nazi spies trying to snatch catch Agent Zero and Agent X, and they jump in, fists flying. But despite their best efforts, the Nazis escape with the British agents, leading the young allies on a chase into the spooky Long Pine Cemetery. The allies discover a secret hideout under the cemetery, and Bucky, being Bucky, follows the tunnel down. What he sees is chilling. Agent X is executed by the spies, but that's not all. He runs into none other than his old enemy, the Red Skull. A fight ensues, and even though Bucky's in a tight spot, his battle cry rallies the young allies. They throw down with the Red Skull's minions, but the Red Skull slips away with Agent Zero. They find Agent X clinging to life, who reveals that the Nazis are planning to take Agent Zero to Berlin for torture, and that the code must stay a secret. It's a suspenseful roller coaster blending mystery, chase scenes, and high-stakes combat. The reintroduction of the Red Skull adds a personal edge to the struggle, and the execution of Agent X ups the ante, making the mission to rescue Agent Zero even more crucial. The use of the cemetery as a location is just amazing. It adds an eerie vibe that perfectly complements the grave nature of this mission, and of course, the determination and courage of the young allies shines through, embodying that spirit of resilience and teamwork. And that's a wrap on episode 14. I hope you had as much fun exploring these stories as I did sharing them with you. Now, if any of these caught your eye, or if you have any thoughts, questions, or even a shout out for your own favorite comics, drop a comment down below. If you haven't already, smash that like button, and if you're not a part of our awesome community yet, go ahead and click subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming up next. Until next time, stay curious, keep reading, and remember, every page turn is a new adventure waiting to unfold. Catch you all in the next one.